Now, keep that, and I want to think about the bodies for a moment. Bodies are meant to be touched. We talked about that. And I want to think a little bit about an experiment that we all have heard about, a million times, probably about the babies. You know, the babies, they put them in the incubators or whatever, in the cribs, and they watch one baby and they touch one baby and the other baby they don't touch. We've heard these experiments, right? And one baby they don't touch, and they watch this withering child. By the way, I can never imagine why on earth they would allow such an experiment. Like, I'm thinking, if I'm part of this team, I'm saying, touch the baby already. How many days you're going to wait as you watch this child wither and die because they're not being touched, and this one's thriving because you're touching it? I can't actually fathom that someone would say, yeah, let's keep going with it. No, I think the child can accept another day, maybe another day before the child withers and dies right before their eyes. But I guess it's all in the name of science or something. But we know about these experiments. We know how valuable touch is. When we look at Jesus, which is something we always want to do. When we look at the Bible, theology, doctrine, so many issues, so much. And my thing is to always say, stop with all the theology and doctrine, and just look at Jesus. If you're ever in a place where you feel like there's just too many issues, I just say, just stop all of it, sit down with the Gospels, and just look at Jesus. So we look at Jesus in this context, and what we notice is that Jesus did a lot of touching. A lot of touching. He touched, though he could have just spoken with his powerful word and healed. He instead touched. He, for example, would take mud, spit, and apply to eyes to make the blind see. Actual touching. He would touch ill-reputed women who had no respect, who were shunned from the community, and he would touch them or allow them to touch him. We see things like lepers, for example. Now, lepers were declared unclean and had to come away from the community. Some of these people, you guys, they'd been away from their communities, from people, for years and years at a time. Imagine. Years and years declared unclean, not able to be touched because they had a disease. And so truly they would go away. Can you just imagine what it must have been like for them after years of not being touched and being declared unclean? For Jesus, he knew exactly what they needed. It wasn't just healing. It was that they needed a touch, a healing touch. And so he would touch them and they would become clean and they would become healed. It was beautiful. And we see this. We see Jesus doing this. The woman, another example, the woman who had been bleeding for years and years. She'd been bleeding and there was crowds all around Jesus. And she herself said, if only I can touch him, if I could just put my hands on something of his, I'll be made well. And her faith did make her well. And she did touch him and she was healed.